below White Holiday in the Comicsgate phone book. It's my favorite failed clone of Peter Sameti. The YouTube WyzGyz. How you doing, Conrad? Welcome to the show.
Hello. Welcome to WyzGyz Entertainment. This is your host, Wyman. We are joined today by a very special guest, Narwahl. How's it going, man?
It's going good. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. As I was saying in the back room, it's like, it feels like it's been forever.
Yeah, you were reaching out like months ago, like 6 months or more ago. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, I joined or classified myself as CG back in late 2019.
Cool.
And I decided then that, CG was like a dream come true. And I had to do whatever I could to promote campaigns, because I would go on Indiegogo and see, back in the early stages of like Cyber Frog Blood Honey, I'd peruse some of the campaigns on there, and then it would be like, wow, there's a lot of talent out here, but so many of them aren't even getting funded.
Oh, yeah.
And it was so shocking to me. So I took it upon myself that moment to create a YouTube channel and do what I could to grab an oar.
Yeah, that's awesome. We all need as much help as we can get, and so that's cool. Yeah, I've seen you around in every chat. You're always super positive and stuff too, which is great.
I try to be. I just love CG so much, and I love the huge potential.
So did you have the experience like you were a comic fan and loved comics, and then you noticed that they were starting to suck, kind of? Or what's your experience pre-CG, kind of?
Well, I grew up, I had a very lucky childhood, I think, in comparison to many people. I was exposed to comics, cartoons, movies, TVs, shows, and toys, and I got to be involved in all of that. Consume it all.
Yeah.
And when I was collecting comics, it was in the 80s and 90s. And back then, things like heavy metal, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were popular. I actually didn't buy a whole lot of the big titles like Batman and Superman and X-Men, because they were already in like issue 300 or something like that. And at the time I had that misconception that, I can't get in on the story now. There's so much to catch up on.
Yeah.
So I went with like smaller titles: G.I. Joe, Transformers, Silver Surfer, Dazzler, Blue Beetle, Booster Gold, West Coast Avengers, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And then I collected comics to the point at which I was dropping like $40 a week in comics every time I went to the shop. And then it started to get to, around 9/11.
Yeah.
They started doing a bunch of comic books that were getting closer and closer to real life and incorporating real life. And then I started seeing comics that were like showcasing politicians of all things, and politicians teaming up with Spider-Man or Captain America. And it was like, what?
Yeah.
And that kind of bothered me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel politicians were deserved to be in comics.
Yeah.
And then I think what broke the camel's back was the price hike from floppies going from 75 cents a copy to $1.25, $1.50.
Yeah.
And
Now they're like $3, $4, $5. Yeah.
they are, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, that's how I got into it. And I also was always interested in drawing and stuff.
Oh, cool.
Welcome, Madanui. I saw Madanui's messages real early. He says, I'm not late this time. If by some
Nice.
miracle I manage to be late despite being here into the chat, I will blow up the space-time continuum. Don't care how, I'll find a way. Aerith Saga, welcome. Hola.
Hello. El Garg's here too.
Yeah, welcome, and thanks for the eggplant, El Gargoyle. Thank you. As you may or may not know, I don't know if you really checked out my channel at all, but you already know that I like to run long, on my stream, so I gotta maintain some self-control. But I like to take a more of a deeper dive than a lot of the other channels. Not to knock the others, because they're also awesome. But I love to get to your quote unquote origin story.
Oh, okay.
What kinds of things did you grow up with, be it influences like TV, video games, toys, movies, and then what were the key moments or milestones in your life or throughout your life that led you to becoming an independent comic creator?
Yeah, good question. So yeah, I was born in 1986, which I only mentioned to give you like the idea, like it's basically the 90s was my childhood. And I remember loving the X-Men animated series, Batman animated series, Ninja Turtles, G.I. Joe. When I was really young, G.I. Joe was my favorite. That was always, and I had all the toys. And,
oh man.
and yeah, there's funny stuff too. Like I think my allowance was $1 a week, and G.I. Joes were $3. So every 3 weeks I would walk down to the local drugstore because they had one aisle that had G.I. Joes, and I'd buy a G.I. Joe. And I did that for like 3 or 4 years. I got a big, huge bag of G.I. Joes. And at some point, I forget if I was like 10 or 11, and I was like, I think I'm older than these now. And I like gave them away. And I regretted it like instantly. And I was like, no. So I don't know why I did that, but yeah, so my mom is a great artist. So I got a lot of my genetics of being an okay artist from her. And she used to draw for me and my brother and my friends, because we collected X-Men trading cards too. So we'd hand her X-Men trading card. She would then just like kind of draw it, and we just watch her. I specifically remember her doing Black Panther, and I loved Black Panther. I loved any character that you couldn't see their face, like if they're wearing a mask. Like I liked Wolverine, I liked Black Panther, like Snake Eyes. And yeah, so there was always that passion and playing G.I. Joe, make believe and stuff. And then I think, yeah, I got some positive feedback, positive reinforcement in school, because it's kind of different, because if you compare it to the internet, you're like I was like the most artistic kid in my class all through school. So even as a senior in high school, I was known as the artistic one, and I would get an A in art class night. And I was thinking, because of that kind of positive reinforcement, I was thinking about going to art school. And this was like 2005, so the internet wasn't even super huge at that point, but and like social media and everything. And if I would have known, like been able to compare myself to like the world, then I would have known like, shit, I'm not good at all. But you kind of operate under a delusion, like, oh, I'm like good enough maybe. And then that kind of carries you through, though, is like that. And then like when you do get hit by the realization that you're actually not that good, like it doesn't destroy you if you can like kind of keep going, get up, dust yourself off and keep going. And so I kind of had that going on. And so then, yeah, through my 20s was like kind of made that decision that I wanted to be a professional artist, and really trying hard at that. And then a couple of things I had to do to make that happen. Like I spent some years living at my parents', some years living in Arizona, where the price of living is so low, I actually could work part-time at a movie theater. And that gave me time to work on at the time I was kind of like dabbling in trying to learn comics, but a lot of my energy was spent trying to write, and specifically to try and write movies and movie screenplays.
Oh,
And
wow.
I had a buddy in my 20s who was kind of like a mentor, and he really helped. He's like a filmmaker type guy, and we co-wrote some scripts together. And he worked at a video store, and he was trying to get his movie off the ground. So I was doing free art for him, but he would give me free rentals at the video store. And he's like, watch this, watch this. He would give me all these like obscure movies. And so through him, I got a good like education of like storytelling on that level. And then specifically from comics, I kind of I was never like buying tons of issues. You know, I'd buy a lot of trades as I got into them. And even like some of that's like later in life. Like I think just in like about a year ago, I kind of bought some Daredevil. Like I bought 2 Frank Miller Daredevil trades. One was like Born Again, and one was just like called The Man Without Fear, I think.
Oh,
And yeah, like one's drawn by Mazzucchelli and one's drawn by JR. And those are like life changing. They're so good. And the comics, they're just so good. They give me goosebumps how good they are. And then it's funny to like, that's like the 80s, you know? So then like, yeah, the 90s is good too. But yeah, if you pick up a modern comic mainstream, it's like terrible.
It's cringe.
Yeah. And so CG is doing better stuff than that. And yeah, I've been lucky with CG. Like when I turned 30, I'm 35 now. I did get a job kind of in the comic industry, and it was called Machete Squad. And I got in with, there's like a little story with that I can try and tell really quick too. So it's like I went to a little comic meetup swap and met networked a little bit. They kind of liked my art. Met these 2 guys who they used to own a comic shop, and now they ran a little mini publishing place. But it was kind of like pay to get published, kind of like, again, almost like pre-internet kind of thing. And they're like, you're pretty good, we'll publish if you want, but you know, it's a pay to get published thing, so you got to decide if you want to do that. And I was like, I was kind of picturing that it wouldn't be like this, you know, I would like kind of want to get published for reals, I was thinking. But and then one of the guys was like, well, I have my own book, and so I might want you to draw my book if you're interested. And I was like, sure. So he invited me to Jet City Comic Con in Tacoma. They had extra space at their table, so I went to that for 2 days for the first time I've ever been at a convention where I could sit behind it with stuff in Artist Alley. And because before that I'd been to conventions, and I've had like weird experiences at conventions too. It's never that positive. It's kind of weird. Like I go to the portfolio review. And yeah, I mean, I guess they'll just kind of giving it to you straight. So good for them. But it was Bob Schreck. He's like a DC editor. Okay. And he's just like, nope, not good enough. And kind of just like poo-pooed me away. And I was just like, goddamn, that's kind of one of those things though, where you're like, all right, that's not going to make you stop. You got to keep going. And, but anyway,
no constructive feedback though.
Yeah. Well, I think he would say some things like, I remember he said, he said like, you need to be able to draw Peter Parker in a crowd, and I know where Peter Parker is in a crowd, like where's Waldo style, you know, like
right.
And I was like, that's kind of not that bad of actual thing to say of how it works, kind of the storytelling and stuff and the clarity that's necessary. And yeah, so then back at Jet City, there was one of their friends stopped by. He liked my art, so I gave him my card. He was a journalist, and then he emailed me 2 weeks later. And he's like, I actually have a book deal where I'm adapting the memoirs of this guy who served in Afghanistan. He was a medic, and he and I are adapting it as a comic. We had an artist lined up, but he fell through. We're going to lose the book deal unless we can find an artist. Can you do it? And I was like, yes. And he's like, can you draw 120 pages and color it in 1 year? And now that would not worry me at all. But back then I had never done anything like that. I didn't even know like what I was doing, but I was like, yes. And so I kind of trial by fire, learned as I was going, ended up redrawing the first 20 pages at the end because I was kind of still even learning then. And that's where a lot of my style comes from, of just that it's a little bit faster, and some of like, yeah, the stylistic choices are almost like shortcuts, but they're like, because I draw it and color it myself. One of the things I remember thinking is, I don't want like an overlap of the jobs that the lines and the colors do. Like if the colors are going to do the shading, then I don't want the lines to do the shading. So the lines got really simplified. And for me, that kind of just streamlines it and makes it more efficient. And it looks fine because every job's still getting done. But sometimes the kind of cool, it's a cool look to have the lines do shading and the colors do shading too. But just for me working, that's kind of where that came from.
Before you started on that, what particular project did he ask you to provide him a few sheets of samples?
Yeah, like, because I had a portfolio of at that point I had drawn like maybe like 200 pages of comics, but nothing really finished, nothing that great. But it was good enough for him to kind of be like, okay, yeah, we can do this. And so that job lasted for like a year, a little over a year. And then it kind of was winding down, and I had been working on Earthbound a little bit and Foreign Agent a little bit. Oh. And I pitched them Foreign Agent because it was kind of up their alley even for the kind of stuff they publish. It's like kind of military based and stuff. And they said like, yeah, we all think it's cool, but we're going to pass. And I was like, okay. So then I had to get a job at the Fred Meyer Deli. After that, I was like in the comic industry, out of the comic industry. And I was kind of a little bit bitter and, kind of mad. And I joined Comicsgate, like, cause I'd been following Comicsgate, but I hadn't fully jumped in. And as soon as they said no, I jumped straight into it, started talking to everyone and drawing fan art for everyone. And then they called me and they were like, don't talk to them. You can't do that. And I was like, you guys can't tell me what to do. And
wait, you're not saying Fred Meyer told you not to, right?
No, sorry, not Fred Meyer. It was this company that I did Machete Squad for.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Even back then.
Yeah. And that was a while back. Yeah. And so that's like a kind of long origin story. And I'll add one little other thing is like, when I turned 30 is kind of when I got that job, but a little bit before that even was when I think I might've got that job like in 6 months. I'd been 30 for 6 months or something, but a little bit before that I started Earthbound. And that was when I was like, I turned 30. I was like, I need to start working on a big project that has meaning because I want my life to have meaning. I don't want to just like piss it away and then die. So I'm like, all right, I'll make a big comic. And then, so I have that script. So I was like, okay, I can do this. And that one too got interesting, like positive feedback immediately, but kind of weird. Yeah. Like I posted, it was back then I was on Facebook and I didn't even know how to use Twitter or anything, but just on Facebook, I posted for free the first like 38 pages. Damn. And an editor reached out to me who worked for, at the time, I think they're called Oni Press. And they're literally my favorite comic company, or they were. They're not really anymore. They kind of got all SJW and weird too, like everyone seems to have. But they specialized in bringing European comics to America, and there was just amazing comics and artists that they were working with. They were working with my favorite artist, whose name is Bengal, and doing some of his art and everything. But anyway, so that editor, he worked for them, and he reached out, he DM'd me, and he said, "Hey, just read Earthbound, loved it. Would you ever consider publishing it in print?" And then I was like, I'd kind of just started at that point, this really trying to hit this dream. And so it kind of blew my mind. I had imposter syndrome and I was like, this is too good to be true. The universe doesn't work like this. This is crazy. And I was like, I can't believe it. I'm like pinching myself. And we corresponded for like 2 weeks, but sure enough, he ghosted me eventually. And I'm pretty sure he ghosted me because of the SJW stuff. Like, for whatever reason, he didn't want to work with me because he wanted to work with lift up people of color or whatever, and so he didn't want to work with me. And
shoot,
blah blah blah.
Oh man, his loss, man.
Yeah, it worked. I mean, it all worked out. Yeah, so I'm really just grateful for Comicsgate to be there for me and help me realize my dream. Because that's another kind of interesting thing that's happened in the last 6 months. I've realized where I'm like, you know what, this is kind of weird because I actually have realized my dream. Like I haven't thought beyond this. I was trying to get to this point for so long that I didn't even know. And like now I'm here. I'm like, okay, I'm a professional comic artist, like making okay money, like lower middle class, but I have money to invest in comics if I want. I have money to buy stuff. I can do anything that I want from here. What do I want? And that's one thing I've been thinking is like, I think I want to try and get the pipeline going with working just as a writer in some respects with some artists, working just as a colorist with some artists, whatever, and getting more than one book going at once. I'll still be drawing one, but maybe getting 2 or 3 books going faster, like faster turn out of product. That's what I would love to do.
Oh, delegation of responsibilities.
Yeah, like kind of build it up a little bit. It almost would be like a little mini publishing house, you know, like Narwhal Books or whatever.
Yeah, do you think that's going to be your ultimate goal, expanding into publishing? And
yeah, and then on top of that, I still love movies, so just almost like as a bucket list thing, I want to make a movie eventually. I might want to dabble, if we're talking way long down the line, I might want to dabble a little bit in video games just for fun. Yeah, we talked with people in CG. There's like programmers in CG, and like we could make a game sometime, but it's still kind of complicated with how exactly you do that with the business plan. Like how much money do we need? Blah, 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 stuff like that. You know, animation too. Yeah.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of manpower hours and effort.
Yeah.
Coding.
Yeah. There's for animation, there's a really awesome independent animator. And I think his YouTube channel is just called A Fox in Space. I forget his name, but he can only do like 10 minutes a year. And so you're like, oh, if you try to do a movie, it would take a decade. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm interested in that. That's one thing I like about comics is that I can give people that movie experience of like, oh, this is like a movie length story, takes a couple hours to read at least. And it feels like watching a movie or whatever. You can, in that time, you can tell a pretty deep story and hit some good emotions. But I can do that in like a year or 2 rather than a decade.
True. Yeah. That publishing house where you got that, you know, they were offering work, isn't pay to get published the same business model that Image was doing?
See, yeah, like maybe, because I even wonder, there is like a thing that people do now where you crowdfund it and then you use the crowdfunding to publish it, and then it's just like the big Image name, or like Alterna even dabbles in that, you know. And so it's like, I think that's it's not frowned upon at all, nor necessarily should it be. It's very similar to crowdfunding is kind of what they were doing, but it was like pre all that. They were like, before crowdfunding was even popular at all. They were kind of like, oh, if you want to, you know, like raise some money and pay us, then we'll publish your book for you.
Yeah, because I thought I heard people quoting or saying that if you wanted to get on the Image brand, then you had to give them up front like $2,000 or $3,000.
Yeah, that's similar to what these guys' deal was. And you know what else is kind of interesting is just even like growing in the industry, and it's weird when you're at different points when because I was like destitute, like minimum wage was a lot of money or whatever. So when they say $2,000, I was like, no, I can't do that, or like I'll hit cognitive dissonance or whatever. But now, thanks to the way crowdfunding kind of works, $2,000 is very doable to crowdfund and on almost any level, and so that's kind of nice that has happened or whatever.
Welcome. What about?
How's it going?
How long was Earthbound like cooking in your head? How long was that in like the creation and planning?
Yeah. Oh, so I'll tell you the whole story with that too. So in my 20s, like I'm 25 or something, I was living in the same town as my buddy who's kind of acting almost like as my writing mentor in Iowa City. And we co-wrote a horror movie script called Sniper Rifle Whiz Kid versus Psycho Movie Killer. And it was very meta and ridiculous. And it was like a movie within a movie story. And it had all the same, it had the Sirens of Violence, and it had Spaceman Juliet and WizKid. It had those names in it. And kind of that, so it was just sitting there, and we would send it to like Hollywood producers once in a while. And there was one Hollywood producer that he said, he's like, I love it. We can make this. And we're like, oh shit, maybe this is like, but in hindsight too, it's like, I don't know. It's Hollywood's ridiculous, and everyone is always lying. That Hollywood producer, he's like, all right, here's what we'll do. You need to rewrite the entire thing from the ground up and make it more like exactly like Guardians of the Galaxy, because Guardians of the Galaxy had just came out, and so then Lou, he kind of rolls his eyes, and I was kind of like, oh, I could do that, because I was still kind of into it or whatever. I was like, yeah, let's get into Hollywood. And Lou's like, he had his own movie he was working on, so he's like, I'm going to work on my movie, Narwhal. If you want to take this and rewrite it and talk to the producer or whatever, go ahead. And so I wrote a draft. I was like 27 at that point, and I wrote Earthbound, and that kind of coincidentally was basically like the first thing I wrote that was good. I'd written like quite a bit before that. I'd written like 15 movie scripts trying to learn the craft or whatever. But by then that one had actually turned out pretty good, and it had the idea. Oh, I'll wait for you to come back. WyzGyz, are you around? Lost you. Hey chat, how's it going? Timothy Olson's here. What about a movie within a movie within a movie within a movie? Yeah, I mean, you could do that. Oliver, hey yo. Where's WyzGyz? Hope he's okay. Well, it might be like 5 minutes if he has to reset. Oh, here you go. WyzGyz, how's it going?
I was trying to switch back between tabs, and see, in this one web browser, I generally have about 30 to 50 tabs open.
Oh yeah.
And then in my other browser, I've got 500 plus tabs open.
Nice.
So yeah.
Abel Salazar's here. How's it going, Abel?
Yeah, I'll catch up. Hey, Oliver, 656 Comics. Hello. Hey, Timothy Olson. Oh yeah, you read. I heard you read it because I have YouTube open in another window. Welcome, Abel Salazar. What's up, guys? What was the inspiration for Earthbound? I mean, was it because there was vague, very basic influence or inspiration from Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah. So, and then what did it evolve from? Like, it was like the original horror script was like a teen horror meta script thing, and then turned that into a sci-fi. The teen. It's not exactly horror. That the horror kind of left completely, because in that horror script they're just shooting real guns, and so it was almost like a school shooting spoof. Oh. Like, it's very dark humor, and teenagers are like dying and everything. But that's within a movie, so it's a little bit tolerable. But so when I thought of the R types, that was the big idea, where I was like, oh, this is a cool sci-fi idea that completely changes the story, and I can build the whole story around this. And I remember thinking a little bit too, like the way I wanted to structure it was after some of my favorite movies. One of them is Battle Royale. Have you seen that movie?
I don't remember seeing the movie.
That movie's pretty awesome. It's actually based on a book, I think, but the whole movie is it's like some teenagers in Japan, a certain class, so like 30 kids or whatever, 35 kids, they get sent to an island and forced to fight to the death until one of them's alive. And so the book it's based on is like that thick, like 700 pages, and the movie's like 2.5 hours long. And like the story is just like what the kids do, like how they like their strategy. Like some of them become friends and try to hide out at the lighthouse. Some of them like do this, the allies, the deceptions, the friends, the enemies, the betrayals, and the little romances that bloom. And there's no real plot. Like, it's just the strategy once that setup happens. And Earthbound is like kind of like that. Like, Earthbound was like, here's the setup, here's the mission. The mission is Spaceman and Julia coming to Earth to recruit 4 deadly warriors using these R types. And it's a competition. So whoever recruits more of the 4 wins and earns their freedom. In the case that it's a tie, there's a 5th target appointed, who is their comrade named WyzKid, who's also hiding out on Earth. And then so that's a setup, boom, and then it's like, what's going to happen? And it's just like, this is what happened. This is what they did. This is what they tried. Spaceman had this strategy. She had this strategy, blah, 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 blah. And it's just that for the whole movie. or the whole script. And that's actually something I kind of, like I don't know, I was designed it to be that way. And it does kind of like some of the feedback I've gotten is like people really like the world building. And like the plot is like pretty simple and digestible. And then the world building is kind of on top of that is kind of fun. And there's kind of a lot of it almost, but yeah.
That kind of makes me think of shades of Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. I love Lord of the Flies. I love like the contained, like kind of pressure cooker situation where the variables are kind of contained and you can track them and show what people are doing and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. There was that other movie that was popular with a lot of kids a few years ago. I forgot what it's called, Mockingjay.
Yeah, like Hunger Games.
Hunger Games, yeah.
Yeah, and Hunger Games is very similar to Battle Royale. And they're both good, but I like Battle Royale a little better. It came first too, but yeah.
Man, I got to check that one out. Let's see. Abel says, "Yo, Narwhal, hey Wise, sup, Oli? Teen Space Hero versus Back Acme."
Yeah. See, I'm telling you, it's a good concept.
Oh shit, Battle Royale is a shit. Oh, nice. All right, Oliver's seen it. Who will win? Godzilla. The answer is always Godzilla. Save the universe by popping zits. Oh dear. That sounds like something Anna would be on board for. Of course, it makes sense now. I can now win Jeopardy. What is Godzilla? Yeah. Oh my god. Oh, hold on just a sec. I gotta step away.
Okay.
I gotta close a window because it's raining again.
Okay. Timothy Olsen. Timothy Olsen, you should write it. That's not a bad idea. I had a little gag in a early script that got thrown away where a girl's trying to pop a zit and it won't pop, so her friend helps her, and they get out like a bunch of tools and like put her cheek in a vice, and then it explodes pus everywhere.
Oh my gosh. Oh jeez. One movie that is good is Edge of Tomorrow, based on the light novel turned manga by Death Note artist called All You Need Is Kill. Manga is very faithful to the novel, unlike the film.
Oh, yeah, I like the movie. I haven't read the manga.
Huh. Edge of Tomorrow. Was that a sci-fi thing where with Tom Cruise?
Yeah, Tom
like
Cruise is
reliving lives over and over?
Yeah.
Okay. Turns out it is half her head. Ugh. Is that the whole pimple popping thing?
Oh yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah, that's too bad. With all your practicing with writing stories, did you like go on YouTube and look at tutorial videos, or do you read books?
Yeah,
I do it.
Yeah, good question. I tried to read like a bunch of books on it, and I'm trying to remember like which ones. There was one just called like the Screenwriter's Bible, and I don't think that one's even super famous, but that one goes over all the basics, and that one helped me a lot. Probably the one I looked at the most. But then there were some other ones. There was one just about log lines, that it's like how to write a good log line, and I learned some good stuff from that because I think it mentioned David Mamet's 3 rules of like screenwriting, and I had like gone like almost 10 years not realizing this, but what that one said was it's the 3 things you got to know is, and a log line should tell you this. It's what does your character want? What happens if they don't get it? And yeah, so part 2. Part 1 is what does your character want? Part 2 is what happens if they don't get what they want? And that's like, I never thought of that. Like, that's so important because that creates the stakes of the story. And once you have that question like answered strongly, then it like boosts the story a ton. It's a good little trick.
Hey, I like
yeah.
that.
Yeah. So there's that, and then I looked at a lot of interviews on YouTube a little later, and there's some autobiography kind of writing type stuff. There's one by William Goldman who he wrote like The Princess Bride and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and Marathon Man, and I don't know. He's like written some. He's a great screenwriter. Some of the best movies ever. His name's William Goldman. He has an awesome interview too that I watched his interview, but he had this huge thick book and it's just called Screenplay, and it's actually just his autobiography. But it really helps with like to learn some stuff by reading that too.
Oh, what a trip! All right.
Yeah.
Yes, with Tom Cruise. Yeah, the manga is brutal, and his character is actually a teenager.
Oh, nice.
Not as dumb as Revenge of the Fart Knocker, starring Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to reshare this since I blew myself out of my own stream. Earthbound Part 2. You are doing amazingly well.
Yeah, thanks.
I know on your other campaigns, this is already your 4th campaign.
Yeah, and I think it just passed Foreign Agent. So like Foreign Agent was kind of like my record. That's the most I've ever raised on a solo project. It was at something like 41,000. Earthbound just passed that. It's amazing.
That's sweet. Fantastic. I love seeing 4,202% funded.
Yeah.
I know you've had success on previous campaigns. Is that why you felt comfortable doing a flex goal of 1,000?
Yeah, I think I did that on Foreign Agent also, where it's kind of arbitrary. I guess the actual business plan, like you would have to hit, at least maybe 2,000 or 3,000. The thing with comics is it kind of scales as it goes up. So like if you only raise 2,000, you probably only got 50 backers. You could fulfill the 50 backers for $1,000 and you'd still make $1,000 profit or whatever. But yeah, so like it's a little bit different than with like if it was a movie or like what Ethan's doing with toys. It's like we have to make a certain amount. Like it doesn't scale down, like it has to be 400,000 for these toys.
Yeah. The way I always understood it, and maybe this is just lack of not having ever done such a campaign myself and just hearing everything hearsay. But for new creators, it's a good idea to go with a flex goal if you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're going to fulfill no matter how many backers you get or regardless of whether you're going to fulfill. Or if you already happen to have already produced the book in full.
Yeah.
And then you go with the fixed goal. If you have these hard line requirements, costs to fulfill the campaign. Let's say you haven't yet covered all the costs of paying for your artist for the entire book, or editor, your
yeah. See, that's one thing that I have an advantage on because I write and draw all my own stuff. That's like a really big advantage. Yeah, it's true.
Do you are you a traditional artist or digital? I think you're digital, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm digital.
Okay. What is your medium?
Like what program even or?
Yeah, program, hardware. Software.
Yeah, I use a Wacom tablet and I switched to Clip Studio just in the last year, and I've really been enjoying that, not regretting it at all. I love Clip Studio, especially compared to Photoshop. Photoshop's okay, but I love Clip Studio.
Yeah, I imagine coming from Photoshop, that Clip Studio must have been a relatively easy transition, huh?
Yeah, it didn't. All the same tools are there, except there's a few more that are extra useful that I really appreciate. Yeah.
Do you go with the? Do you use the type of tablet that has a screen on it, like
Yeah.
an iPad, or do you have the tablet that is literally just the surface? And
No, I had one of those for kind of a long time in my 20s, but yeah, like it was right around the time I turned 30 for those kind of bigger comic projects. I got a big Wacom tablet. It functions basically as a second monitor, but you can draw directly on it. And it's really nice product. You know, it's like worked forever. I feel like I might not have to get another one ever,
Wow.
maybe. Who knows? Knock on wood, but yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And what dimension did you get?
It's pretty big. I don't know if might be like 27 inches or something.
Ooh, nice. That's a good size.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's mainly artist preference. Like some people enjoy getting nitty gritty and tiny movements, whereas others do more flourishes, more bigger motions with their hand as they draw.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and I kind of tend towards the bigger motions I like, if possible.
Yeah. Let's see. There's no such movie. I'm just making shit up. Yeah, I know. Have you read Save the Cat by Blake Snyder?
Actually, Oliver, I haven't read that one. That one's come up multiple times though, and yeah, I think I'm gonna like buy it tonight and start reading because I saw that comment and I was like, I've been meaning to and I want to.
And let me make a quick note of that. Save the Cat.
Yeah.
By Blake Snyder. All right. Good book. Didn't work for me, though. Totally great guide for a hack writer such as myself. Me too. Hashtag me too. How'd the kitchen remodeling go?
Good. We have a little bit of I don't think it's a problem, but we rip up all the linoleum and then there's like kind of like a lot of old glue still bumpy on the floor. But we were trying to figure out the best way to get that off because you can't really scrape it. You could use like a product to like dissolve it, but that's kind of like dangerous in a house or whatever. So I think we might just we have the click wood Elgarg, like you buy at Costco or whatever. I don't know if you buy it at Costco, but yeah, so we're just going to maybe just click the wood over the glue because I don't think it's that big a deal. That's what I'm hoping.
So this is this the home that you're where you're renting from, like this little older woman?
Actually, so that was in Portland and I moved back to my hometown. I'm like 10 minutes from my parents' house and I'm living with a friend at his place and he owns this house. He bought it last year and it's like a fixer upper. So I'm kind of just, it's pretty cheap rent and I'm helping him fix up his house. And I got my office here, just running Narwhal books from here.
Wow.
And it's going well, but yeah, I actually like the small town more than the big city, but I don't know. I don't know how long I'll be here. I might move somewhere in like a year or so. I'm not sure.
Just a quick note. I helped pull, we replaced the basement hallway carpeting with tile.
Yeah.
And no, actually, no, it wasn't tile, was it? I guess it was like a type of linoleum. Excuse me. And like you described, it had like glue all over the place, even to hold down the. There's typically like a padding, a floor padding, so it's not the tile or the pieces linoleum directly on top of concrete. So there's like this little padded layer, right?
Yeah.
So that got pulled with the carpeting, and we replaced it with like, I guess it's linoleum sheets, like 3 feet by 2 feet pieces, and it's designed to look like wood.
Oh yeah.
But with all the glue that was left on the concrete, they have these heat guns that you could apply. It's still a pain in the ass. I'll tell you that. You could use a heat gun and soften it.
Oh.
And then you scrape it with a metal scraper, like
yeah.
a type of tool.
See, we might try that. We tried soaking it, like we put a wet towel down overnight, and then it was wet, and it helps a little bit, but not that much. And so we're still kind of trying to figure out the best way to do that.
There was this other product. Oh shit! I wish I remember the name. I want to call it Jasco or Vasco, that you usually use on paint. I wonder if it would work on glue.
Yeah.
Or a goof off. But anyway, I think it's called Jasco, and it's the stuff that you usually use to peel several layers of paint off your windowsills.
Okay.
And it's disgustingly, it smells bad, but it's freaking strong. You apply it on the surface, and you wait, you let it bubbles up, and then you wipe it away with a putty knife and paper towels.
Oh, yeah. See, I bet that would work. Then it's just the decision if how safe that is for if you're living in a house. I don't know. Maybe it's fine. So then we could just do that.
Yeah, I mean, especially since you have decent weather now.
Yeah.
Let's see. I find it more useful reading movie scripts and watch conferences or interviews with writers like Tarantino or Nick Pizzolatto and such folks.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. And I think for me too, the thing that helps the most for drawing and writing is to try and tell a story, so actually try and write a script, try and finish it instead of fixing it, then kind of moving on, writing another one, maybe you redraft it a little bit, but I actually heard that as a Marcus Aurelius quote. He says, "Straight, not straightened." And I was like, oh, I think I know what that means. It means fix it going forward. Don't work on messing with something that's already messed up and it takes you forever to fix it. Just straight, not straightened.
So once you're done with the entire script, then do you go back to the beginning and re-review it and edit it and try and fine tune it?
Yeah. And in the early stages, it might be a lost cause, but later on. And sometimes I'll be writing straight ahead, which is a little bit different. With animation, they say you can animate straight ahead or keyframe, and writing's like that too. You can write where if it's keyframe, then you kind of know where you're going. Everything's planned meticulously. Or if you're writing straight ahead, then you're just kind of writing, you don't know what's going to happen, and you're just letting the characters guide you. And sometimes I'll do that even for an action scene. I'll write straight ahead and just see what happens. And I did that once, and it was it hit a dead end, and it wasn't good. So I actually just scrapped, did it again the next day, and then that one actually was pretty good. So I kept that one.
Sander might work.
Yeah, it's another good possibility.
Yeah. If you do happen to try that, I guess it's Jasco, definitely wear gloves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that stuff. Like I said, it's designed to peel years worth of paint. You know how people tend not to, people just paint over previous people's paint jobs over and over and over when the house changes hands. That's the creative spice flow. There's steamers that work pretty good. You can peel wallpaper with it. Yeah.
That sounds very promising. Steamer.
Yeah, for sure. Stoicism all the way. Yeah. I mean, if the bleeding cannot be stopped, move on through that, lol. Certainly. Definitely. So let's play this intro video here real quick.
Is this guy special? Is he a genius? Is he a savant? Is he like, what's up? Like, this book, nobody else makes stuff like this. I've never read a comic like this ever.
I read it and I got done and I was like, oh man, that went by quick.
It's really immersive. It really pulls you into the world. Totally forgot how many pages it is. I think it's like 136. I read this in one sitting.
This book should be so critically acclaimed. It's really that good.
20 years ago, this would have come out from one of the big publishers and it would have been celebrated everywhere as this groundbreaking achievement in comic book storytelling.
To me, this is the biggest discovery of crowdfunding.
Cool.
Sweet.
Yeah, I as soon as I came across your stuff and started hearing about you from your boy Zach and EVS, I just fell in love with your stuff.
Thank you.
I love your style. It's in a sense, I don't know if simplistic, oh, maybe minimal. I was going to say simplistic, but I think minimal is a better, more accurate term. One of my favorite things is how you convey the feeling, the image. I mean, like you convey the feeling, the atmosphere, the motion, so clearly. It doesn't require a lot of words.
Yeah, thanks.
I don't know if you said you were into G.I. Joe, right? Did you collect the G.I. Joe comics?
No, I kind of wish I did, but I didn't. Just the toys and watch the TV show.
Regarding the toys, did you ever get the aircraft carrier, the USS Flag?
No, but I think my friend did, because I had a best friend and he had a ton of G.I. Joes and he had some of the big, like the huge vehicles.
Yeah, those are so cool.
Yeah.
The reason I mentioned the G.I. Joe comic is there was this issue focused only on Snake Eyes, and it was all imagery.
Oh yeah,
no,
I've heard about that one. Yeah,
it was pretty dang sweet. It was impressive. I liked it a lot. Oh man, this is so cool. So, like some artists, they use a bunch of different, digital brushes and things like that. Do you use a lot of different types of brushes, or do you use basically the G pen like some artists do?
Yeah, I think I've been using it's even called like the oil brush, so it's not even the pen, because Clip Studio you can hit P for the pen, B for the brush. I kind of like the brush just for whatever reason, and I just use it at 6 pixel length, and then I'll thicken it up if it needs it, if they're in the foreground or overlapping shapes or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty simple what I do it. So I pretty much just use that, and for coloring I'll just even like use fills and then make that brush bigger. So I'm using that brush, big version, little version, and I even try to like only work on like a couple layers, because I see sometimes people work, and this is fine, like it's actually probably in some ways better to take advantage of the fact you can have multiple layers. I've seen people do like 50 layers, and it's like, here's their coat and their coat arm, and it's 2 different layers. And I just do like 1 layer for the lines, 1 layer for flats, and then 1 layer for colors. And the colors are just the flats just colored more. I just duplicate the flat layer and then start messing with it. So it's all just on 1 layer, basically, all the coloring.
Wow. That's pretty sweet. That was going to be my other question. Do you work in many layers or just a limited?
Yeah, it helps. For me, it does help a little bit with like the minimalism, and it at least keeps some of that like the limitations that I kind of enjoy sometimes with creativity, where it'll just like these little rules or whatever, they're just kind of fun to follow. And that's when I do try to stick to, is just not using that many layers.
Do you ever use guidelines like the blue line or red lines?
No, sometimes I'll do, like a rough though. So I guess, yes, sometimes not on every page, but just if the pose seems, if I'm not warmed up and the pose seems complicated, I'll do a rough. And then on Foreign Agent and on like a handful of scenes in Earthbound 2, I use 3D backgrounds. And if you scroll up, I'll show you too. Like, so these, that's like 3D backgrounds where I'm drawing characters over the 3D backgrounds.
Like the sphere here?
Yeah. And that's good. Like if it's one location that doesn't change, I'll sometimes do that.
The snowman.
Yeah.
Noticed it. Oh man. So is the floor, the tiled floor, also a 3D background?
Yeah, so that's 3D.
Ah, all right. And the pillars back there.
Yeah, so I just export it from Blender and I copy and paste it into that full file, and it's there. And then I draw characters over the top of it. And I've done for Earthbound, it's actually only like one kind of big action scene does that. But for Foreign Agent, it's almost the whole book. And there's other books where I want to do that for the whole book. Sometimes it kind of just depends on, because it switches back and forth sometimes. But yeah.
Nice. Get down with the Narwhal lifestyle. Earthbound 2 is what we call a Narwhal joint. Like a Spike Lee joint.
Yeah.
Also available in this campaign, the third sketchbook featuring the conclusion to the Nosferatu comic, original print run copies of Earthbound Part 1. Ooh, original, so it's first edition.
Yeah, so those are available. It's kind of, there's quite a few options, which is in some ways, I wish, it's nice to keep that simple too, but because it's a sequel, there's just a lot of things. I'm actually going to make available to sketchbooks 1 and 2.
Oh, cool.
a few of those. So if anyone wants to get all 3 sketchbooks and have the complete Nosferatu story before it comes out next year, because next year is the 100th anniversary of the Nosferatu film.
Oh, wow.
And that's when my Nosferatu book will get crowdfunded. But yeah.
Nice. Silent Interlude. Oh, was that the name of the issue?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too. Yeah, it was. I still think of it fondly.
Yeah, that actually, it got a shout out on the campaign page for your boy Zach's latest crowdfund, the knife hand one. He took that as inspiration, and it's on the page, is the cover.
Really? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh shit. I love how you do the hair too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, thanks.
Oh, and here, man, it's like video game style in a sense.
Yeah, I like that. I like the video game kind of look.
Yeah. At 40K, Narwhal stickers. At 50K, Narwhal Mafia business cards. The Narwhal Mafia. 60K, new Naked Samurai short included in the book. 70K postcard prints. And 100K, Frank Kafka's The Trial Game Boy style pixel comic sample booklet.
Yeah.
So it's a booklet, and what does it have? Your Earthbound characters in 8-bit?
Yeah, it's actually, that's a funny, weird project that kind of came out of nowhere. See if I can maybe screen share and show you some art. Let me see.
Yeah, please.
So this is what it looks like. It's debatable how commercial this is. That's kind of why it'll be given away for free if we hit that high. But let me see here. I'll show you. Hold on, I gotta 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, yeah. So So this is what it looks like. I think it'll pop up. Yeah, so you can see it's kind of like this Game Boy graphics, just like.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I'm not the artist on this, and it's a direct adaptation of the novel. So there, AOM is who's doing it for me. He's a cool. I think he's kind of like a genius, you know, but he's a great pixel artist. He helped me on Foreign Agent. He did some of the 3D work on Foreign Agent, some of the art within the art stuff, and.
Oh man, how many pages is this pixelized version?
Well, so we did a 22-page first issue, and it's like a good little first issue, and I love it, you know, but I just don't know if anyone else will. But eventually I was like, dude, we could do the whole freaking book, and it'll be 200 pages or whatever. But I don't know if we will or not, because part of it is like, is it going to make any money back? But we'll see.
I would love to see the whole thing done in like a omnibus kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, like it'd be like a manga-sized thing you could buy.
Yeah. Oh shit, that's cool. Although, you know, I never owned a Game Boy. I can see where you're going with that. It's pretty neat. I was about to say, what? No Game Boy Color?
Yeah.
So we've got the tiers, the perks. So always awesome to see a featured tier. Earthbound parts 1 and 2 for 50. Let's see, where was it? How many pages is Earthbound 2?
It doesn't say on the page. I'm about to finish the line work, and it's 120 pages. Part 1 was like 135, so it's a little bit shorter than part 1. The two of them together complete the story, and yeah, it'll be like 250 pages or something. So
nice. And is it trade paperback, or are you going hardcover?
It's trade paperback. There actually is a hardcover version available also, but it costs a little more. It's just another tier.
Nice. All right, so parts 1 and 2 presently at 50 USD. Quite reasonable. And then you got Earthbound Part 2. So actually, the feature tier is your catch-up tier, basically, right?
Yeah, that's for people who like missed the first one, and both those are a second. That's like the Earthbound one second printing, and then down here the OG printing you can get. There's only a few of those left. They're marked up slightly.
Okay.
And then there's the part 2 plus the sketchbook, which I mentioned. That sketchbook number 3. And sketchbooks 1 and 2 are not available, but I am gonna make a couple of them available, just like 50 or so. So if anyone does want to try and get all 3 sketchbooks, you'll be able to do that.
Oh yeah, that would be me.
Oh yeah, nice.
Let's see, Earthbound Part 2, the book alone. Yeah, you got some good numbers here. Earthbound Part 1, OG printing. Yeah. Oh yeah, 29 out of 200 claimed. Earthbound Part 2 sketchbook. Part 2 plus sketchbook. All right. The book plus the sketchbook.
Yeah.
Here's a hardcover for a little more. And of course, this is going to be popular. People love hardcover.
Yeah, they do.
111 out of 300.
Yeah. And then so the shirts too, there's something interesting about the shirts. They are not flying off the shelf, as you can see there. 7 out of 100 sold so far. But it was funny, like when I was about to launch, that was the thing I was the most excited about. I had just learned screen printing. I learned it specifically for this campaign but made like 30 shirts, and I was so excited. I'm like, check this out. I screen printed them myself. Look how awesome this is. And it's like, oh, no, nobody really cares. But because it's just a shirt, you know, I was like, but I think I do have a theory here. And I think because it's just the logo on a black shirt, part of me, I was like, it's a logo on a black shirt. That's badass. But it's like, I think people do appreciate a little more, especially if it's like a price point. Like these are limited edition, but they're $40 each. So like people appreciate a little bit more. So I'm going to try and do another screen print with like some graphics and put that underneath the logo. So you get the logo and some graphics, and just see if it sells a little more. I'm just kind of curious.
I am. I don't know if you'd really call me a t-shirt connoisseur, but I do enjoy t-shirts.
Yeah.
Names, and I like what you did here, and I appreciate handmade goods. So I mean, I think it's pretty dang awesome. Because the name is so large, does some of the lettering actually extend to the sleeve?
Yeah, and that's kind of just what's cool about screen printing. It's like I can just do that. Like I don't know.
I once did a screen print. It wasn't bad. It was fun.
Yeah.
Definitely something fun to try. But yeah, I would also welcome the other type of t-shirt you were describing.
Yeah, just a little more graphics. Hey, just FYI, probably 5 minutes or so. I'll have to get out of here. But
oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been good though. This is fun.
What the hell? I meant to ask. You already screen printed a bunch of stuff, but then didn't do you? What sizes are available? Do you have everything from extra small to 5XL or
like I think it went as high as 2XL or maybe even just single XL. I think 2X maybe. So if people order it, I'll be able to do it. That's kind of one reason I'm limiting it though, because it is like a little bit daunting of like there is so many options and blah blah blah.
The other thing is, if you haven't already done so, you might consider making the t-shirt alone as an add-on.
Oh yeah, I think I did do that. Yeah.
Very good.
And maybe there's been a few of those picked up. I got to double check. That might be the way people do it.
Then we got Earthbound 1 OG printing hardcover for $90. And then we got the Narwhal starter pack. What's in the starter pack here?
Here, click on it and it'll show. But it's like, I think it's like everything, but it's the OG printing of the hardcover, the new hardcover. So you get both hardcovers. You get a copy of Foreign Agent, get the sketchbook. Yeah, so that's kind of like the completion. And if I end up doing this thing where I'm giving the sketchbooks, yeah, I don't know. It's a
working it out.
Yeah, but it's got a shirt too. I think.
Oh, this doesn't. Yeah, there it is. Both hardcover, shirt, all the limited items. So
that's a fair amount of shirts going out then.
That might include all 3 sketchbooks. I know you're still working out the details. Print hardcover. Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
Root.
Yeah, I think I will do it so it includes all 3 sketchbooks. I think.
Yeah, so that you have at least one tier that has everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever I'm able to, I appreciate the everything tier.
Yeah.
So, it looks like you got one more backer.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you.
So, yeah, this has been freaking awesome. It's been an honor as well. I wanted to give you the floor. Would you share with the world how you can be found on social media?
Yeah, on Twitter, I'm Narwhal Books. You can search Plaster_Harris. That's kind of weird. That's an super old, weird account name. But yeah, Narwhal Books on Twitter, Narwhal Books on YouTube. And yeah, just follow me. My YouTube is growing and it's kind of a fun little space. It's kind of writing focused a little bit and then promotion and stuff like that.
Yeah, I really enjoy your channel because you spend a lot of time discussing the story and things like that, and it's really intriguing.
Yeah,
I've always been into the drawing side of things, but I find storytelling my weakness, my kryptonite.
Oh yeah.
Your streams are very informative and chill and relaxed and very interesting.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so if you've already backed this campaign, thank you for your support. Appreciate it. But also consider getting extra copies. Back it again. Back it once, back it twice, back it 3 times the lady.
Yeah.
Get copies for your friends and family for this Christmas. they'll love it. If you don't have the ability to at this time, please consider sharing it all over social media. Share the stream, share the campaign. Let's get those numbers up. I want to see 6 figures, young lady.
Yeah, I feel like it has that chance, and it's crazy. I can't believe it, but who knows? We'll see.
It says 18 days left. Are you doing 2 rounds of 30 days of funding?
Yeah, it'll get extended, and it'll be in demand for a little bit. So
Yeah, nice.
who knows?
All right, cool. And as usual, you can find my social media in the description of any of my streams. Thank you to everyone in chat. You guys are freaking awesome. Thanks to everyone who watches this on replay. And thanks especially to our very special guest, Narwhal.
Thank you.
Have a great night, everyone. See you on the next stream. Take care. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Final guest that is the only person below White Holiday in the Comicsgate phone book. It's my favorite failed clone of Peter Sammetti. The YouTube sensation. How you doing? Welcome to the show.